step, beating the Boston Red Sox.
Adam Dunn has done it again!
Wins the ball game.
Cincinnati, the champions of baseball for 1990.
At the Reds Hall of Fame and Museum at Great American Ballpark, there are many fantastic displays recognizing the many great teams, players, and events in the long and rich history of the Cincinnati Reds. One display honors the night of September 16th, 1988, the night of Tom Browning's perfect game. Welcome to a very special edition of Reds Classic Rewind. I'm Chris Welsh here along with Mr. Perfect, Tom Browning, and let's roll the clock back 20 years, Tom, to September of 1988, Reds versus the Dodgers, your night of the perfect game.
Yeah, pretty special night. Something I'll never forget. Just one of them nights where, you know, you, as a pitcher, you know as well as I do that you were what they call in the zone, and I was able to have pretty good command that night, and lo and behold, after 9 innings, I was I guess perfect.
Well, you know what? We're here to watch, and I guess everybody can join us right now. Why don't you do the honors, Mr. Perfect?
Well, I'd love to.
Get the game going.
We're set to go. Leading it off for the Dodgers will be shortstop Alfredo Griffin. He's batting .202 with a home run and 24 runs batted in. Right-handed batter. Been a rough first year in the Dodger uniform for this guy. Browning into the windup and the pitch, and is taken high and tight for a ball, and this game is underway.
Tom, September 16th, it was a bad day all day long, at least weather-wise. You got to the ballpark about what time? Was it a regular routine for you as to get to the ballpark at a certain time?
Yeah, I mean, I usually got there, on game days, I usually got there about 2:30, and that day I happened to get there a little bit earlier, just, you know, some circumstances, and I just felt like getting to the ballpark a little earlier. And
didn't want to clean the garage, is that it?
Didn't want to clean the garage, pretty much, yeah. So I stopped down at Frisch's Bottom Hill, got my two big 32 things of iced tea, 32-gallon or 32-ounce iced tea, which is what I used to drink during the game, and went down and got there at 1:30, you know, but it was raining, it was a cruddy day. Just anticipated, you know, the game starting at 7:30, so pretty much status quo. I just sat around and probably had a dip of Copenhagen, you know, listen to music, whatever, and talk to whoever's happened to be in the clubhouse that early, because a lot of the regulars didn't get to that early, but I like getting there early on game day because it's you know, my special day, one day where I get to feel like I'm part of the team.
Well, it was late in the year, so you've had to figure that there was some pressure to try to get the game in. You get to the ballpark, you realize with Riverfront Stadium the way it is that, you know, it drained well, it was AstroTurf, they could prepare the field no matter how hard it rained as long as it would stop. Did you ever get the feeling throughout the long rain delay, and it went more than 2 hours, that you wouldn't get it in?
Well, I'm going to tell you, I went out a few times, and it was just absolutely pouring. And it was really pouring when I got to the ballpark. And, you know, the fact that we had AstroTurf, I knew there was still a chance we were going to get a play because it drained. You had the Zamboni, although I don't know if they use Zamboni in that newer turf. But I knew there was still a chance. But I went up to the dugout a couple times. And, I mean, it was a gully washer. It was just pouring. And I remember looking at the other dugout and seeing Timmy Belcher over there. You know, but it was the Dodgers. And if there was any team that I got keyed up for, or enjoyed playing against, or beating for that matter, it was the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Well, the game finally got underway. You went down to warm up around 9:40. You had a certain routine to get yourself ready for a game.
Yeah, I got out there half hour before the game, so when they came in and said we're starting at 10, they actually came in about 9:25, maybe 9:30, so I got there a little bit later, but it was at 10:45. I went down and stretched, and at 10:48, I threw my first warm-up pitch. I mean, this was clockwork. I did that no matter where I was at. I stretched for 3 minutes, 3 whole minutes, and then by 10:48 I threw my first warm-up pitch, and then got myself loose, you know, and I was ready to go. And you know, and it just the skies opened up, and it was you know, a nice starry night.
At first base, Mark Hirschbeck. At second, John Kibler. At third, Eric Gregg. 2 down here in the top of the first inning as Griffin is fly to center. Hatcher's grounded out to third, and Browning even up against Gibson, 1-1 and pitching. And it is in the air to left field. Daniels to his right waiting, and the inning is over. No runs, no hits, and nobody left. We're going to take a break. Larkin batting .285 with 11 homers. Hit his first since July the 1st last night when he homered off of Houston right-hander Bob Forsch in the third inning. Barry's knocked in 51 runs, and he can count Tim Belcher's name as being in his 1988 home run book. He got Belcher earlier this year here at Riverfront Stadium. Tim with a pitch and Larkin with a take, and the fastball is just up, ball one. The Dodgers are 24 games over 500. That equals the most they've been over the 500 mark all year long. And they go into play firmly entrenched in first in the West by some 7 over Houston. The 1-0 pitch, and Larkin takes a strike. Now, the Reds are a game and a half behind the Astros, and in third, they're a game and a half in front of fourth place San Francisco. And 3.5 games in front of fifth place San Diego. 1-1 pitch.
So it's time you take the mound. Jim Quick behind the plate. Jeff Reed, your catcher. Sometimes pitchers don't know what they've got in the first inning. Did you know after going 1, 2, 3, starting with Alfredo Griffin, that you were on to a good game?
I felt really good. I felt nice and relaxed out there. I felt comfortable. And like I said, one thing I do recall more than anything else is the command. I was able to make some pretty good quality pitches in, early on. And, got through Griff, and then, Mickey Hatcher, and then Gibby. Gibby was a tough. He had a 3-run homer off me earlier on a balk call, and I stopped throwing it, and he swung, hit it out of the fence, over the fence for a home run. So Gibby was a tough out for me, and he battled just so. But after I got through that first inning, I felt like I was where I wanted to be.
Bounced up the middle, cut off by Griffin, throwing, and got him at first base by a stride. 1 out. Mentioned the Houston 1-0 lead over the Giants at the end of 5 on Buddy Bell's 7th home run. That's the ball low.
Mr. Pervik, you didn't know this at the time, of course, but you finally took the mound at 10 o'clock. I mean, this is, 2 hours plus of more than a rain delay. But it's in September. It's a cold, rainy night overall. You look up in the stands. What kind of feeling did you get when you looked up in the stands and saw the kind of crowd you had?
Well, usually we've been there before, September, and if it's a cold night or a rainy night, that however many tickets they sold, half of them aren't there, and I think less than half stayed for that game. But again, to me, the crowd didn't matter then, basically because it was the Dodgers. We were still in a pennant race, although we were like 6 games back. It would have taken a miracle to catch them, but again, with the Dodgers being in town, I love beating the Dodgers. So, but the crowd, believe me, I heard the crowd later on. That's for sure. I mean, it sounded like a full house later on, but usually, the crowd kind of gets you into the game early on, but after that, you kind of, put them aside. You don't really pay attention to them, and but they made their presence known later on. Again, that was just one of them nights. I mean, I didn't really think anything different that night than any other night, but it just seemed like I had great command that night. And every pitch I threw basically where I wanted to. And if I made a mistake, they either swung and missed, or they fouled it off, or they made an out. So, what an awesome night, though. I mean, to have command.
It has been a consistent factor in this, the 4th year in a row, in which the Reds have not been able to handle the club that was in first place later, went on to win the divisional championship. Swing and a foul into the mid of Dempsey. He hangs on. Daniels is a strikeout victim, and the Reds go 1-2-3. At the end of 1 complete at Riverfront, Cincinnati and Los Angeles, 0-0. Sands, a lot of hair, will lead off the top half of the second. Marshall is almost a skinhead. Why anybody would do that unless they just lose their hair naturally, I can never understand. He swings and fouls the first pitch straight back. He's had some physical problems of late, a thigh muscle pull that had him on the sidelines for 9 ball games. Then he tried to pinch it against the Atlanta Braves when the Dodgers were last there, couldn't cut it. Started 1 game last weekend against the Reds and didn't appear in the next 2, but healthy enough to be back in there now. Swung on, popped up behind the plate, coming back is Reed, hoping to have a play, and he's disappointed.
So, Tom, now let's talk about your battery mate. I mean, Bo Diaz had caught you as your regular catcher every 5th day for the last few years, while you're with the Reds. Yeah. But tonight, he wasn't in the lineup. Yeah. He had an injury. Jeff Reed filled in. Yeah, Jeff in that orange laced glove. He had that glove that had the orange. Like he was going hunting. Well, yeah, so you find the target better, I suppose. But Reedy was a good catcher. Of course, like I said, I don't think anybody had a problem catching me because I didn't throw but 2 pitches and didn't throw enough velocity and didn't have enough movement on either one to really confuse a catcher or have trouble catching me. And so I think they all enjoyed catching me. But Reedy we just had a good rapport that night, where I never had to shake off, or he kind of knew where I was going or what I wanted to do. And, I do remember Pete Rose telling him, hey, you got to slow him down sometimes because sometimes he works too fast. And
that's when he throws balls down the middle. And of course, I have to work real fast, throw balls down the middle. But I just, but he kind of kept telling Reedy to kind of slow me down, make sure I, kept a decent pace, but not working too fast.
27 minutes of non-baseball activity. We finally started, and we're in the top of the second. Marshall reaching, chops one to third. There's Sabo. There's the throw. Got him. One down. Nice play by Sabo. Get rid of it right now to knock Marshall off. And the switch-hitting Shelby will step in. Shelby batting .261, slumping of late, however. 7 home runs and 57 runs batted in on the year. Hitless, as a matter of fact, in his last 3 games, and only 2 for his last 15 over the last 5. Batting right-handed, and he fouls it back and out of play. Browning has retired the first 4 to face him and quickly jumps out in front of strike on Shelby. Check swing, and that cost him another one. Strike 2. Browning figures to get at least 3 more starts. And it would be an awful shame if he wins out the rest of the way and ends up with 19 victories on the season in light of, again, we make reference to last Sunday's debacle at Dodger Stadium. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Shelby takes, and see you later. Strike 3 call. Browning has his first.
So, Tom, you started the second inning, you got Mike Marshall out, and then John Shelby came up. His strikeout was your first of 7. Now, you were really never a high strikeout pitcher, but 7 punch-outs in a night, pretty good.
Yeah, that's a big number for me. I don't think I ever got a double digits in my whole career, but John Shelby, I had a really good I had a lot of success against John Shelby because I knew I could get the ball up, just up above his hands a little bit, and it made it very hard for him to catch up to. And believe it or not, he had a hard time catching up to anything I threw that night. But yeah, 7 in 1 games is a lot for me.
And over is O'Neill, still on the move, and he makes the catch in foul territory, and that wraps up the Dodgers second. 3 men up, 3 men down, and after 1.5, it's no score at Riverfront. Closest to him in the National League, Kevin McReynolds of the Mets, who now has had 17 game-winning RBIs. The pitch from Belcher, and it's a fastball up. In the American League, actually, Davis is leading the major leagues. Mark McGuire and Mike Greenwell have 20 to pace American League hitters. 2 balls and no strikes. He's had a rather impressive second half of the season. Actually, you can go back further than that to June 1. Foul ball off the 2-0 pitch. And he's hit Dodger pitching well. .317 average, 2 homers, 10 runs knocked in. Belcher checks with Dempsey. And his pitch. Taken high, ball 3.
Well, the Giants have taken a 3-1 lead over the Astros in the 6th inning. They've scored 3 times, and there's 2 outs.
Foul ball back and a full count. Now the Reds have to pull for the Giants while the Reds are playing the Dodgers. Another foul ball. This rockets back into the upper deck, and all 3 of the cuts that Davis has had off of Belcher have been very healthy cuts. So the count holding at 3 balls, 2 strikes. Belcher trying one more time, and Davis swings and fouls another one. So he's providing some happy fans with souvenirs. One in the upper deck and a couple of stingers straight back and into the green seats dead behind the plate. Paul O'Neill coming up next as Davis tries to become a base runner at the outset of the second. The pitch. Ball 4, and he's walked. Well, he has 34 stolen bases, but his running game has not been a part of his repertoire of late at all. Because of the shin splint problem, he has not been running. He has led off the second with a base on balls, and here's O'Neill. Left-handed batter as Davis bounces off the bag over at first against a holding Mickey Hatcher. The pitch to Paul, swung on, fouled away. Strike 1. Talk about a guy who's had a pretty good seasonal series against a particular ball club. 5 homers, 13 RBIs against the Dodgers alone. Way high. 1 ball, 1 strike. 1 ball, 1 strike. Belcher pauses and pitches. O'Neill swings, hits one into left center field. Shelby on the run. He makes the catch. Fine catch by John Shelby on a ball hit in the gap to take an extra base hit away from Paul O'Neill, and Davis back at first base. I'll tell you, one of the very underrated center fielders in the National League. He can go get the baseball. O'Neill goes back to the dugout shaking his head, and Nicky Saski is the batter with 1 out, and Davis still at first. There's a throw over to first. What made that catch even more impressive is the fact the ball was bending away from Shelby as he went over, and he simply outran it. Saski with a .243 average, 13 homers, and all of a sudden Belcher decides to pay some attention to Davis. He makes 2 straight throws over to Mickey Hatcher. Nick with 2 hits and a run knocked in last night. The pitch to him, and it's upstairs, ball 1. Now Dempsey running out to the mound to hand the ball back to Belcher and momentarily meet with him. The 2-2. Andy Saski swings and fouls to Dempsey's mitt, and Tim Belcher picks up his 2nd strikeout. We had hoped some days ago that Sunday afternoon would bring about a matchup of the top 2 contenders for the Cy Young Award, Danny Jackson and Oral Hershiser. But as it turns out, not one but neither will pitch on Sunday. Rather, it will be Jose Rijo against lefty John Tudor. Jackson will go in the first game Monday night against San Diego here. Reed with a bat handle, foul ball, strike 1. Of course, Frank Viola last night saw his ball club come back and go on to a rout as he picked up his 22nd win. So he's the first 22-game winner in the major leagues, and right now there are 3 pitchers who have 20 or more, and 2 of them are in this ballpark tonight in opposite dugouts. Jackson for the Reds and Hershiser for the Dodgers. We touched on the subject the other night. If things stay as they are now in the 4 divisions, it will make for very interesting League Championship Series matchups. The Dodgers and the Mets in the National League, the A's and the Red Sox in the American. Reed grounds it hard. Backhanded by Sachs. He'll go to first with a throw, and that ends the inning. No runs, no hits, no errors, and 1 left. We've completed 2. Reds nothing. Dodgers likewise.
Dempsey, a .263 batting average, 7 home runs, 27 RBIs. He takes high and outside from Browning a ball. Arm of the strikeout. He got Shelby on a called 3rd strike in the 2nd. The 1-0. Dempsey swings and fouls back to the screen, and it evens 1-1. We talked about acquisitions the Dodgers made, and boy, this guy has been invaluable to say the least. Rick Dempsey. Browning with the 1-1. Dempsey takes it just under the knees. 2 balls to strike.
So, Tom, you take the mound. After a bullpen session, let me ask you about your bullpen session. Did you feel good? Did you feel overpowering? Did you know then that this was going to be a tough night for the Dodgers?
Well, I don't think you ever know that warming up the bullpen. And you know, I did the same thing every time I warmed up in the bullpen, and actually in between starts as well. But you know, I had the same routine that I did. I threw from the windup, threw from the stretch, and finished up in the windup. And you know, made sure my last 4 or 5 pitches were for strikes. At least my last one for sure, because I never like to go anywhere without throwing a strike in the last pitch. But you know, basically, you know, I didn't really cut loose, if I can say such a thing, you know, with a fastball until, you know, my last 4 or 5 pitches. But I went in there making sure that I was nice and ready to, you know, face that first hitter, and had, you know, game stuff for the first hitter.
Oh, game stuff you had, and ready you were.
Browning back, Sachs swings, pops it up, shallow right. Coming on is O'Neill waiting, and Paul has it. 2 away. Well, 2 down, Tim Belcher, the batter. And Belcher hit his first major league home run in Los Angeles. And guess who it was off of? Tom Browning. It came in the 3rd inning That game, the Reds lost 5-3, and the 3 runs in the 9th for the Dodgers. Belcher looks at a strike. Alfredo Griffin on deck with 2 out. Browning the 0-1, swing and a miss. 0-2 to Belcher. A 2-hour and 27-minute delay in the start of the game tonight. Browning the 0-2. That misses low. A ball, 2 strikes. Reed hangs the sign. Browning with the 1-2 delivery, and Belcher swings and he grounds it wide to first. There's Nick fielding, flipping it to Browning, and that's the inning. 9 straight for Tom, and at the middle of the 3rd, Dodgers nothing, Reds nothing. Here's the 1-0, and Oster takes it. The strike called on the inside corner to knees. 1-1. Belcher, a fairly quick worker. He delivers the 1-1 and swings in a foul tip out of the mid of Dempsey. A ball, 2 strikes. The last 21 games, Oster hitting .318.
Going back a few months, one of your right-handed teammates, Ron Robinson, came very, very close to a perfect game. In fact, he went through the very last batter of the game before it broke it up. Tell us about that, and did that ever enter into your mind during your perfect game?
Not him, but I remember that very vividly because, you know what, Griff and Herm Winningham were down there in the right field, down the end of the dugout during his as well. So, but I do remember how quiet it got in the dugout. I remember, watching Robbie and just seeing his mannerisms and seeing how he was handling it, and he was great. I mean, but you know what's going on, and you try to hide your emotions as best you can, but somehow they have a way of oozing out. And actually, he got to 2 strikes on Wallace Johnson. I remember that, and hit that little baby fly, soft liner to the left. And I know Cal, everybody says he could have caught it, and but it was a tough play, and he just kind of kept it in front of him, and didn't work out. But Robbie was a good friend of mine, and I felt bad for him. And even to this day, I said, Robbie, one more strike, you could have been Mr. Perfect as well. So, but he's a good friend, and he takes it lighthearted. But that was kind of I got a pretty good preview of what it was going to be like, from their standpoint, because I was on that side watching Robbie. So, but when you're the guy doing it, friends are far and few between.
0-1. Belcher with the 0-1. Browning swings and he pops it into right, coming on is Marshall, and he has it. And Marshall looked like he's limping. Well, 2 away, and Barry Larkin to the plate for the 2nd time. Larkin, in leading off the game, grounded to Griffin at short. Talking to Barry about that hand, and apparently he's going to have a nerve specialist look at it at the end of the season. He's had it x-rayed and nothing showed up. The way Barry explained it, it's a nerve that ties in with the ulnar nerve, and sometimes he'll get a pain all the way up to his elbow. First pitch to Lark is a called strike. Well, Belcher, the 0-1 to Larkin, and Barry takes it. That one bounces 3 feet in front of the plate and onto the backstop. Now it evens 1-1. A ball to strike to Larkin with 2 out here in the 3rd. Belcher's 1-1 delivery. Larkin takes ball 2, low and away. Sabo waits on deck with 2 away. Here's the 2-1, and Larkin takes it, ball 3. Well, 3-1 now to Barry Larkin with 2 out. Outfield plays Barry's bob out straight away. 3-1 delivery, swung on, that's fouled back, and just under our booth. A full count. Larkin back into the batter's box, and the payoff to Lark on the way. He swings and lines it to left, but there's Kurt Gibson backpedaling. He makes the one-handed catch, and that's the inning. Well, Larkin hits it hard, but right at Gibson, and after 3, it stays the Dodgers nothing, the Reds nothing. Browning starts for the Dodgers for the second time. Alfredo Griffin to lead it off. Griffin a fly ball to Davis in left center in the first inning. A 202 batting average. First pitch is swung on and grounded to Lark. He fields across to Esaski, 1 away. And Browning got him a bat. A 1 down, Mickey Hatcher steps in. Hatcher grounded to Sabo in the first.
So umpiring behind the plate tonight, Tom, was Jim Quick. Now, it was a 0-0 game with Belcher putting up zeros and you putting up zeros. Sometimes umpires can expand the strike zone. Sometimes those games have just the energy of a low-scoring type affair. What kind of umpire was Jim Quick that night?
Oh, he was real tight because I had to really throw it over the plate. Actually, you know what? To be honest, most umpires loved me because I worked quick. I didn't waste a lot of time. So were they generous? Yeah, but I mean, if you remember, and back then it was just the National League umpires, so you always knew who they were, and you kind of knew who they were. I mean, like Frank Poley and Jim Quick and Eric Craig. I mean, you always knew what kind of strike zone they had or didn't have. And Jim was pretty. If you could throw a ball consistently, this far off the plate, he would probably give you that pitch, and he probably did that night. But like I said, because I worked quick and I didn't waste a lot of time, umpires liked that, so they gave me probably a little bit more of a plate than there should have been, but I'm sure he gave it to Timmy as well. 2.5-hour rain delay. They wanted to get the game in. They didn't want to play doubleheader the next day. So the strike zone was it really 17 inches? No, maybe 18. But again, when you work quick and you just don't waste time, the game moves a lot quicker, and that's the way they like it.
Browning winds and delivers, and Gibson takes outside. Kurt backs away from the plate on every pitch and then back in, and the 1-0. Swing and a miss, and he tried to check his swing and couldn't. A 1-1. Browning with the 1-1. Gibson takes strike 2 called, and Tom quickly in front of ball, 2 strikes to Gibson. And again, Gibson out of the batter's box. Hurt back in. Browning has the sign from Reed. He delivers the 1-2, and a swing and a miss, and Browning has his second strikeout. 12 straight now for Browning, and the middle of the 4th. Dodgers nothing, Reds nothing. Well, Belcher goes to work on Sabo, and his first pitch is taking the called strike. Belcher back with the 0-1. Sabo swings and bounces it foul behind the plate, and I'll be darned, that's the second one that has bounced into the seats just to the left of the screen. That one hit the railing behind at the screen and jumps over into the seats. The 0-2, and Sabo takes it just low. Final in New York, the Mets scoring in the 9th to beat the Expos 4-3. 7th inning, the Giants leading Astros 5-4. And Sabo a fly ball into center field, drifting back, and now waiting Shelby, and he has it for out number 1. Cal hitting .285. Belcher delivers, and Daniel swings and grounds one to Griffin, who fields, throws on to Hatcher, 2 away. Well, 2 down, Eric Davis steps in. Eric walked leading off the second. Well, we've yet to have a base hit in the game either side. Eric now third in the league in RBIs. He swings and fouls the first pitch. Belcher trying to get in on Eric with a fastball, but Eric able to make contact. And again the 2-2. Swung on, that's line foul into the seats down the left field line just above the visitors' bullpen. Davis takes strike 3 call on the outside corner, and Belcher has his third. Well, the Reds out in order, and after 4, it's the Dodgers nothing, the Reds nothing. Totals are exactly the same, all zeros. As we move into the 5th, Mike Marshall leads it off. Back with the action, here's Marty.
Thanks, Joe. Marshall 0 for 1, a ground out to third. Browning delivers, ground ball wide of third. There's Sabo like a vacuum, throwing and out. The throw was a little bit high to the outfield side of the bag. Whether or not Nick's foot came off is irrelevant. If it did, he got back down before Marshall got there, because Mark Hirschbeck dead on top of the play and gave the out call. So 1 pitch, 1 down, and that brings up John Shelby, who was called out on strikes in the 2nd.
Brownie, great pitched games are rarely ever done by themselves. I mean, you got to have the good defense behind you. And, of course, you guys had a very good defense there on AstroTurf, although it was a wet turf that night. Anybody make any great plays that, as you remember that ball game, that were very important to you?
Well, I mean, I can't say there was any spectacular plays, but there were some good plays. Sabo made a couple on ground balls. I think one was Mike Marshall, or maybe it was Hamilton. I'm not really sure. Can't remember which one it was. I remember Marshall hit a ball to right center that I thought had a chance to get down, and Paul O'Neill made a nice play on it. You know, but you're right. We had awesome defense. You know, I had Oster at second and Barry at short and Sabes, and Nick Assassi was at first base, and of course Eric in center, and Paul and Cal Daniels in left field. And Cal, you know, Cal wasn't a bad outfielder. He just had some bad knees, and sometimes they're limited to his mobility. But you know, they made the plays when called upon. Like I said, I think there was a couple that Sabo made that could have been qualified as tough plays, but he did it fairly easy and made it look real easy.
The pitch, and a foul ball back, strike 1. Tom Browning, at least through 4 2/3 innings, is having one of those nights. Throwing the ball where he wants to. He's in front of strike on Hamilton, and he's in front 2 strikes as that pitch gets over on the outside. It is over in Boston. It is over in Detroit. The Red Sox have won. The Tigers have lost again. Baltimore scores a game winner in the top of the 9th to beat the Tigers in Detroit 7-6. That pitch is outside, while Boston scored 5 times in the 5th inning and went on to beat the New York Yankees 7-4. 1-2 from Browning to Hamilton, and it is popped up outside of first and will drop into the stands just down beyond the Reds dugout. That means that the Red Sox now lead New York by 4.5. They lead Detroit by 6. The pitch on the way, and it's fouled right off the end of the bat. That San Francisco-Houston game, in case you're interested, is now in the 8th inning. It's still 5-4 Giants. All of their runs coming in the 6th inning when they knocked out Bob Nepper. Hamilton checking, 2 balls, 2 strikes. Milwaukee 4, Seattle nothing in the 3rd in the Kingdome. In the 3rd in Anaheim, it's the Angels 4 and the Texas Rangers nothing. Kansas City, Oakland scoreless after 1. 2-2 pitch. Foul ball. Hamilton hanging in and staying alive as Browning tries to retire him and make it 15 in a row. 2 pitchers, 1 left-handed, 1 right-handed, and dead on top of their respective games. If you happen to be rolling down the radio dial and find us on the air and only in the 5th inning, it's because we had a 2-hour and 27-minute rain delay. Hard 1 bouncer hit to Larkin, winging it on to first, and that's the inning. For the 5th straight time, they go down in order, the Dodgers do, and after 4.5, Reds nothing, Dodgers nothing. Tim Belcher goes to work on Paul O'Neill. Inning number 5 for the Reds, and a foul ball back. Paul hit a ball that that one had left the infield, looked to be ticketed for the wall in left center, but John Shelby turned in to find defensive play so far tonight when he took it down, and that was a big play because Davis was on at the time. Pitch inside a ball, 1-1. Paul batting .248, 13 home runs and 61 runs batted in. Belcher has struck out 3, has walked 1, and he's 1-1ing. And a shot hit to right center field. Marshall got it as he stepped onto the warning track.
You know, you were a pitching coach's dream that night. I mean, every pitching coach that I've had and that you've had have said, first thing, throw strikes. And I don't think there's a pitcher in Major League Baseball that ever did it better in one particular night than you. You went that whole game without even going 3 balls to 1 hitter. You had one tough hitter, Jeff Hamilton, in the 5th inning that saw more pitches than others. But for the most part, it was nice and easy. Yeah, I think he fouled off, you know, a few pitches, 4 or 5 pitches. I don't know exactly how many, but he battled me up there. But again, I think, you know, a prime example that if you throw strikes and you get ahead in the count, you get a guy, you get 2 strikes on a batter, you know, you can expand that strike zone a little bit as far as a pitcher. But, you know, my philosophy has always been 3 pitches, I want to see the next hitter. I want to throw 3 pitches to a batter, and then I want to see the next hitter, whether he gets a base hit, makes an out, strikes out, whatever. I mean, that was my theory. It didn't happen all the time. But I never believed in not throwing a strike. You know, they tell you 0-2, waste one up and in or low and away. You know, no, I didn't believe in that. I believed in maybe throwing a perfect pitch. But my philosophy was 3 pitches and hopefully get that hitter out and get to the next guy. And I never changed that thought process my whole career. That night it worked.
They had a tough time winning at Dodger Stadium, and what kept them afloat and in first place in the league was their ability to win on the road. Here's a line drive foul into the seats. Right side, it's 0-2. Here's the 0-2. And Reed waves at 1 for strike 3, and that's number 4 for Tim Belcher. And at the end of 5 complete, Cincinnati nothing, Los Angeles the same. Bottom third of the batting order for the Dodgers in round number 6. Dempsey to start it. He bounced to third in the 3rd and rips 1 foul to left field on Browning's first pitch. Browning winds, kicks, and he throws. Dempsey swings, fly ball, left field. There's Daniels, and that's 1 out.
So here you are locked up in this pitcher's duel. Belcher's throwing up zeros. You're throwing up zeros. He's got a no-hitter into the 5th or 6th inning. You still have a perfect game intact. This game was a pitcher's dream, obviously, but you had no idea that whether your team was ever going to score a run.
Right. Well, I mean, as a pitcher, we were always taught, you know, you pitch as long as hard as you can. You pitch deep into the game if you can, but give your team a chance to win. So I was just trying to match him, and he was trying to match me, I suppose you'd say. You know, so if I put a 0 up, then he'd put a 0 up. And yeah, I mean, the fact that he didn't give up a hit, and I hadn't given up a hit through 5 innings, you know, was adding a little bit of tension. And but you know what? Like I said, I was pretty focused that night. It was the Dodgers, so I didn't need any extra momentum. And you know, knowing Timmy Belcher, he has the capability of doing the same thing. So it was a nice duel between us two. You know, and he was a good pitcher, and I thought I was decent too. So those are kind of games that I liked because it moved quick. I think the first 5 innings probably took 40 minutes because we kept firing zeros up there. But you know, good pitchers duel, and just trying to stay. You know, give our team a chance. Hopefully they'll break through eventually. And I'm sure he was doing the same thing.
Grounded foul over toward the Dodger dugout and into it, and it's no balls and 2 strikes. Browning, of course, earlier this year out in San Diego flirted with a no-hitter. In fact, he took a no-no into the 9th before giving up a base hit to Tony Gwynn. And has pitched 5 2/3 innings of not only no-hit ball, but perfect ball tonight. Here's a liner foul out of play to the right, and it holds as pitcher faces pitcher, 0-2. Back comes the Reds left-hander, swing and a miss. Fastball, and had something on that one to end the inning. So that's 4 for Browning. After 5.5, 0-0, the Reds in Los Angeles. Oster 0 for 1, led off the 3rd, bounced to 3rd base. 2 pitchers basically matching each other almost pitch for pitch. Neither team has had a base hit. Belcher throws to Oster, and Ron hits 1 foul down the left field line and out of play. Strike 1. Ron batting .261. Double last night, scored a run, takes another strike. And Belcher doing exactly what Browning's doing, basically getting out ahead of the hitters with a first pitch strike. And we've talked about that in the past, the percentage of outs when you get that first pitch in for a strike. Grounded to shortstop, waiting on it, Griffin. Scoops and throws. He got him one out.
Well, you're always a fast worker, but I imagine on this particular night, the temptation to work faster than normal was right there, and Pete knew that. So he and Jeff Reed conspired on a plan.
Yeah, he was he said, just make sure you slow him down a little bit. He said, this is about the time of the game where he starts to get a little bit quicker, you know, works a little faster. So just slow him down, because when he has a tendency to work a little bit faster, he has a tendency to throw the ball down the middle. But like, you know, it didn't matter how fast I worked. I like to throw the ball down the middle every now and then. Not always, but I did. But Reedy, you could always and I knew from just his mannerisms that, you know, he was trying to get a little fidgety back there, trying to get his feet set, whatever, just kind of slowing things down a little bit. And, you know, I understood that, but, you know, it didn't matter that night. It was just one of the nights, you know, where no matter what pace I had, and it usually was a quick pace, but that, like I said, me and Reedy were like that all night. We didn't have one shake off. I don't remember doing anything different, but I do recall him lollygagging around back there, if you can call it that, in between pitches, just to kind of, you know, keep my pace at you know, a steady pace.
That's high. 1 ball, 1 strike. Larkin steps back in, waving that bat around as Belcher comes with a 1-1. The pitch in the dirt and bouncing off the shin guard of Rick Dempsey, kicking over toward the on-deck circle. So Barry jumps out in front, 2 balls and a strike. The 1 walk that Belcher has allowed, representing the only base runner for either team, Davis, was only after Eric had repeatedly fouled off pitch after pitch to keep the count at 3-2, and he finally lost him. So it wasn't a case of Tim having a momentary lapse of control. Barry now backs away from the plate. Two and 1 the count on the Red shortstop with 2 out. And a line drive to right field, and there's the first hit of the night. It goes into the right field corner. Larkin turns first. He digs towards second and will stop right there with a 2-base hit. So as far as hits are concerned, the stalemate has been broken. An opposite field double to right by Barry Larkin. And let's see what Chris Sabo can do with 2 down here about getting him in. The ability to come up with key 2-out hits. That oft-repeated phrase relative to this great game of baseball, and that's what the Reds are hoping for right here as Larkin edges off the bag at second. And Sabo pops it up off third, but out of play behind the L.A. dugout. Oh, with Larkin at second and 2 away, Tim Belcher going to work as Sabo fouls back 2 straight pitches. Here's a stretch, the pause, and the pitch, and it's chopped to third. Here's Hamilton fielding. He quick throws to first, in the dirt, gets away. Here comes Larkin. He scores. Reds lead 1-0. Hamilton appeared to have a problem picking that ball out of the lights, and then made a quick and hurried throw that was short of Mickey Hatcher, who tried in vain to dig it out. And when it got away, Larkin kept right on coming, and the Reds lead by a run. That'll be scored, an infield hit and a throwing error. So credit Sabo with a single. No run batted in. Larkin scores on the throw, but the Reds lead it by a run, and the inning continues for Cal Daniels. Daniels struck out in the first inning and grounded to short his last time up. He takes it strike. So the throw by Hamilton and the inability of Hatcher to control it
allows Larkin to come in to score a big first run of the night. There's a throw over, and naturally Tim Belcher concerned about the possibility of Chris Sabo taking off. 46 steals to lead the Reds team. Daniels down a strike as Belcher straightens up on the mound. Chris leaning and now goes back to first base, and they pick him off. And he's upset with Mark Hirschbeck's call, and the rookie gets right in his face and arguing vehemently down beyond the first base bag. Lee May quickly out of the coach's box to restrain Sabo as Belcher picks him off. But the Reds get 1 run on 2 hits, 1 error, and at the end of 6 complete, it's the Reds 1, the Dodgers nothing.
So when your ball club finally did score a run in the 6th inning, it didn't look like the 6th inning was going to produce anything. Ronnie Oster made an out, then you came up with 1 out. Yeah, I hit just a 15 hopper between first and the mound that Timmy Belcher fielded. You know, I wasn't hit very hard. He got in there, jammed me pretty good, and I hit a little soft nubber. And with 2 outs, you know, and Barry probably gave me a little extra time to get in the dugout, whatever, and he came up there and hit a double down the right field line. I mean, right down the line for a double, and then Sabes came up, and I remember he hit a little topper, you know, maybe, I don't know if it hit the plate or the ground, whatever, but took kind of a semi-high hard hop that Hamilton came in, and it hit the seam, and it kind of handcuffed him a little bit, and Sabo, like he always did, was bearing down that first base line, and Hamilton got the ball and threw it, and he threw it in the dirt, and it hit off Mickey Hatcher's glove, and it bounced up. But not realizing it had spin on it when it came up, when it hit the turf, it kicked dead left towards our dugout. And Hatcher was getting ready to field it like this, and it took a dead left, and Larkin never stopped coming around when he left second base and never stopped at third base, just kind of kept going. And Hatcher, by the time he got the ball, Barry was sliding into home plate and outscored our first run, and only run for that matter.
Top of the Dodger batting order in the 7th with the Reds in front 1-0. And back with a play-by-play, here's Joe.
And Alfredo Griffin takes a strike from Tom Browning. Griffin 0 for 2. Browning delivers the 0-1. Griffin swings. He grounds to Oster. Ron fields on to Isaski. 1 away. 1 down, and Mickey Hatcher to the plate. Hatcher 0 for 2 is grounded to third. A fly ball to left, and his 2 times to the plate. 1-0 the Reds. They 1 run, an unearned run, but a run. Coming after 2 out. Fastball misses high to Hatcher a ball. Larkin double and then scored on the throwing arrow by Jeff Hamilton on Sabo's chopper. To third, like Hamilton had trouble picking the ball out of the lights. Had to wait on it. The 1-0. Hatcher fouls. Count evens 1-1. Gibson waiting on deck. Browning with the 1-1. Hatcher swings and he hits a little fister that Nick catches at first base. And he got jammed on that pitch. 2 away, and the batter is Kurt Gibson.
You know, as you go through the game, Tom, there's probably things that you remember a little bit at a time that come to you later. Now that you've had a chance to think back about this game many times, what do you remember? What do you recall? What little unusual incident that that the casual fan who was even there that night may have not have seen?
Well, it was Mickey Hatcher came up, I think his 2nd time at the plate. I jammed him so bad. He had like a real soft liner to Nick Isaski, or it might have been Ronnie Oster. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if he could hit it that far. It was such a jam shot, and he had one of them black bats with the silver Louisville Slugger logo on it. And Nick caught it, and they threw it around the horn, and I got it back, and I looked at it, and it had Louisville Slugger in reverse on the ball. And I was so proud that I jammed him so bad that I rolled the ball into the dugout. And I rolled it in there so Pete could see it, so I could show him, you know, how proud I was that I jammed him so bad that I got the Louisville Slugger in reverse on the ball. And then after the game, the kid said, you know, we have all these balls in a perfect game. Do you want any? And I said, yeah, give me about 6 or 7 of them. You know, I obviously had the last out in my glove, but I said, give me about 6 or 7 of them because I wanted, you know, be able to give some to my family. And, you know, maybe, I know I gave about 3 or 4 to charities or to help raise money, whatever. But I said, yeah, but there's one in particular that I want. And I got that ball back, and my dad to this day still has it. So, and it was Mickey Hatcher and his, I don't know if you call it F1, F3 or F4. I'm not sure if Ronnie caught it. I want to say Nick Isaski caught it, but it was such a jam shot, and that's one I know where it was at the time.
Back into the batter's box. 2 balls to strike the count. And the pitch. Gibson looks at strike 2, and it evens 2 balls, 2 strikes. And the crowd getting pumped up now. 2-2, 2 out. Gibson into the batter's box, and Browning with the 2-2, and Gibson takes strike 3 call on the outside corner, and Gibson not happy with the call by plate umpire Jim Quick. That's 5 strikeouts for Tom Browning and 21 straight, and now they have thrown Kurt Gibson out of the ball game.
In the 7th inning, you're still rolling right along, throwing zeros up. Nobody's been on base. No one's really come close yet. Jim Quick behind the plate. You have Kurt Gibson up on a 2-2 count. What happened?
Reedy called for a low and away fastball, which is probably my toughest pitch to throw. It's my toughest fastball throw because it's the inside part of a right-hander or away on a left-hander, and I was used to facing right-hander, so I always had the left-hand side of the strike zone mastered. But I threw a fastball low and away. Pretty good pitch. It could have went either way. But again, like I said, 2.5 hour rain delay. Did the strike zone span a little bit? Maybe a little bit, but it was what I would call a perfect pitch, a hitter's pitch, or not a hitter's pitch, but a pitcher's pitch, or like Doug Harvey used to say, a Hall of Fame pitch that just couldn't be hit. And he called it a strike 3, and Gibby took exception to it. I know he argued with Jim for a while, and I mean, actually ended up getting tossed out of the game, but it was a strike in my book.
For the Reds in the 7th, it'll be Daniels, Davis, and O'Neill to face Tim Belcher. They lead it 1-0. Gonzalez in left, taking over for Kurt Gibson. Belcher goes to work on Daniels. First pitch is swung on and fouled straight back. Reds getting a run in the 6th. The 2-out double by Larkin, and he scores on a throwing arrow by Jeff Hamilton. On a chopper by Sabo, and Chris picked off at first to end the inning. The 0-1. Daniels takes high. Count evens, a ball, a strike. Eric Davis on deck, the 1-1. Daniels swings and fouls again. Back and over the screen, and the count goes 1-2 to Cal. Belcher shakes off a sign from Dempsey, and now the 1-2. Daniels swings and again fouls back over the screen. Well, it stays in a ball, 2 strikes to Cal Daniels. Belcher back with a 1-2, and he misses outside. That evens a count of 2 balls, 2 strikes.
So you get into the late innings of a no-hit game, a perfect game, and hey, you may not know it as a pitcher, but certainly your teammates know it in the dugout. Nobody wants to talk to you all of a sudden. Superstitions take over. I'm sure the same thing happened in the Reds dugout.
Oh, yeah, well, you do know what's going on, basically because you don't really have anybody, when you're like Moses part in the Red Sea, you kind of walk into that dugout and suddenly guys just kind of get out of the way. They don't want to rub up against you. They don't want to have anything to do with maybe screwing it up. I remember Griff Sr., I guess, and Herm Winningham all the way down the end of the bullpen, or down the end of the dugout. They didn't move the whole night. And I always sat in the same spot when I was pitching. And about the 6th or 7th inning, it gets kind of lonely because then all of a sudden you know what's going on, they know what's going on, and they don't want to talk to you. So you're kind of left there to be with your own thoughts and try to stay, as focused as you can. But and that's the norm. I mean, you kind of expect that. Of course, you never anticipate being in the middle of something like that. But when you get in the middle of something like that, you finally realize that you are a lonely person out there.
Tomorrow night, game 2, Ron Robinson, Tim Leary to hook up. Eric takes strike 2 at the knees on the outside corner, and Belcher in front 0-2 to Eric Davis. Here's the 0-2, and Davis looks at a breaking ball low and away. Belcher delivers. Davis swings and he grounds in the hole. Backhanded by Griffin. The throw to first, and he got him. Fine play by Alfredo Griffin. All in one motion, fielding and throwing the long bounce to Hatcher to retire Davis. Excellent play by Alfredo Griffin. Belcher delivers to O'Neill, and Paul takes low, ball one. 1-0 Reds, 7th inning. The 1-0, O'Neill swings and misses a breaking ball in. Now it evens 1-1. And the 1-1 taken down low. 2-1 the count to O'Neill. Belcher with the 2-1. O'Neill takes strike 2 called. That an off-speed pitch. And that evens the count. Belcher delivers the 2-2. O'Neill takes strike 3 call on the outside corner, and Paul not happy with the call by Jim Quick. Belcher has his 5th strikeout, and after 7, it's the Reds 1, Dodgers nothing.
Browning enters the 8th inning, having retired 21 batters in a row and working with that 1-run lead, the run coming in the 6th inning. Tom kicks and throws, and Marshall swings and misses at a pitch down, and the count goes to 0-2. It is Marshall, Shelby, and Hamilton here in the 8th inning. Mike settles back in. Browning anxious to work as he continues to go quickly. And that pitch down for a ball. And now they want an appeal play from the first base umpire, and Mark Hirschbeck throws both hands out. And Marshall stays alive as the count goes to a ball, 2 strikes. 1 run, 2 hits for Cincinnati. No runs, no hits, and 1 error for Los Angeles. Here's a pitch. And Marshall swings and drives one into right center. O'Neill got it. One away in the 8th inning.
Now, as you get to the 8th inning, I mean, of a perfect game, you're getting in crunch time now. Your emotions are there. The crowd knows it. The other team knows it. Take us through the 8th.
Well, you know, I thought the 7th inning, once I got through the 7th inning, which was the top of their order for the last time, those were the toughest hitters I was going to have to face. But Mike Marshall came up, and he hit me pretty good at times. And there were times where I had success as well. But, you know, he was a good hitter and a power, strong guy. He hit a ball. I jammed him a little bit. He hit a ball to right center field that I thought had a chance to get down. But I guess it had enough side spin that it really was an easy play for Paul. But when he first hit it, I thought he hit it good enough where it might be get down. But or Paul just made it look real easy and went there and got it. But made a nice play on that. I mean, it didn't look like a spectacular play, and maybe it was, and maybe it wasn't. But Paul made it look so easy that I'm gonna say it wasn't that tough a hit or hit that well. And then Hamilton, I think, grounded out to short. No, I struck out John Shelby again. Thank God John Shelby played that day. Get my strikeout total up. And then Hamilton came up and hit a ground ball to short. So, you know, I talked to Ronnie Oster about that from that point on, and you know, he said, "Tom, I just wish everybody would have. I wanted everybody to hit the ball to me." So that was kind of cool to hear him say that, because he was a good little second baseman, that's for sure.
Browning with a 2-2, and a swing and a miss. He struck him out. Credit Tom Browning with his 6th strikeout of the night. 2 away in the 8th inning, and the batter will be third baseman Jeff Hamilton. He is fouled out to right. He is grounded out to shortstop. The young man who last Sunday enjoyed maybe the biggest thrill of his big league career when he hit the 9th inning 2-run homer off Franco to give the Dodgers a win in L.A. He swings and fouls. Tonight, it was his ball short of first baseman Hatcher that enabled Larkin to score what has been the game's only run. Tom getting a new baseball from plate umpire Jim Quick. He didn't like the one that he first threw out to him. Standing out behind the mound, rubbing up the baseball. Again, bends low to reach the rosin bag and steps back on. 2 down, bases empty, 8th inning. Hamilton taps the plate with the head of the bat, waiting on the 0-1 pitch, and here it comes. And it's swung on and missed. And it's 2 strikes and nothing on the Dodger third baseman. Outfield playing Hamilton just a bit to pull. Reed sends out the sign. Browning with a wind, the kick, and the pitch, and that's low. And it's 1-2 the count. Browning never leaving the pitching rubber. Hamilton steps out, walks back into the box, and here comes a pitch. And it's swung on and fouled away. Tom got up and in on him, and Jeff was able to get the bat around quickly enough to make contact. Tom takes a quick look at his defense. Reed directs his attention back toward the plate. And on he comes. And it's a bouncing ball to Larkin. He gloves, he throws, the inning is over. And 24 in a row have been retired by Tom Browning. It's the middle of the 8th, and the Reds lead 1-0. Right now, it's Nicky Saski waiting on Belcher here in the home 8th, and the pitch is swung on and hit in the air to right field. Shallow and going out to play it. Steve Sachs, 1 pitch, 1 out. Belcher has been just a tad less, and I mean a tad less effective than Browning. Now Reed, who's grounded to second and has struck out. Reed now making Belcher work, and Tim not quite as quick a worker as Browning is, but he still is better than the average. He comes to the left-handed batting Reds catcher, and the pitch is taken high for a ball.
So you've worked your way through the Dodgers 8 times. You bat in the bottom of the 8th. By this time, the crowd, well aware of what's going on. You come out of the on-deck circle. What's going through your mind at that point? Perfect game, a win, shutout, get a base hit. What are kind of the things that were going through your mind then?
Probably in that order, too, I would guess. Base hit was the last thing I thought of. But, yeah, I mean, you know, you always appreciate the fans acknowledgement for doing something well or whatever. And that night, obviously, was pretty special. You know, but all it did was, you know, put more focus on where I was at, what I was doing. I mean, they gave me a nice ovation. I don't even know what I did. I might have grounded to the first baseman again or something like that. I don't know. But, you know, it's always neat that they appreciate what you're doing. But all it did was just magnify the situation because, you know, I knew what was going on. I knew I had 3 more outs to get, and certainly was hoping that maybe somebody, knowing that I probably didn't have a whole lot to do with it, would help me get another run, give me a little bit of breathing room. But really, for the most part, hitting was really not even on my mind. I don't think I went up there, and maybe I struck out for all I know. I don't really remember, but I was so focused on the next inning or, you know, what I was going to do out there on the mound. And I think I thought probably a no-hitter and obviously a shutout. I'm not sure I thought perfect game because it really hadn't crossed my mind, but a no-hitter at that time. And maybe it did. I don't know, because it's hard to say what you're thinking at that time because you got so many things going on. I mean, if you were to look at the inside of a person during that situation, it'd be like a pinball just bouncing all over the place. So many thoughts going on and you're trying to stay as calm as you could on the outside. So, but I do remember the crowd cheering and stuff, and it was really cool. But again, you're so numb with so many emotions going on that you really can't focus on too much about what you're supposed to do out there.
And it's foul ball back, and it's 2-1. The Giants have beaten Houston 5-4. So a Reds victory would pull them to within a half a game of second, and right now they lead 1-0 in the 8th inning. Here's a pitch, and it's hit hard to center, and it will drop in front of Shelby for a base hit. So Oster with a 2-out single, and that means that Browning will bat and get ready for a pretty sizable ovation. They are standing all over the ballpark, and with very good reason. As far as his work at the plate is concerned, he's flied to right and grounded back to Belcher. So Oster on at first. The Reds now with 3 hits. Belcher pitches to Browning, and Tom lets it pass. It's a ball. and a strike is taken. 1 ball, 1 strike. Browning batting 135. Oster takes a lead against a holding Hatcher over at first base. The right-hander with a pause in the pitch and a swing and a miss. Browning up there hacking. He takes his hitting as seriously as Danny Jackson does, and I think for that reason they are the 2 pitchers who are more apt to get a base hit than anybody else on this pitching staff. Tom strikes out swinging this time, and that's the inning. No runs, 1 hit, 1 left. Stay with us. Tom Browning takes a perfect game into the 9th inning, and the Reds lead 1-0.
Got 3 outs to go. You take the mound in the 9th inning. The small crowd that was there were probably making more noise than 50,000 would normally make. But in a game like that, I imagine you hear them, but you don't hear them.
Right. You hear the energy, or you feel the energy. You hear in unison as they're cheering. You know, on me, I was a good sweater. I used to sweat all the time. I think I was sweating excessively that night. I remember going to the rosin bag a lot more often than I used to, just to kind of keep, because I was sweating profusely. But the crowd, whether they were 5,000 there, or I know there was 16 paid. I know that 16 paid didn't stay, and some that tried to get back weren't allowed back. But, you know, I would say there was maybe 5,000 at the end. But to me, it did sound like 50,000. There was so much energy going on there, and it sounded like 50,000 people on every out.
Well, here we go. Top half of the 9th inning. Bottom third are the batting order for the Los Angeles Dodgers, namely Rick Dempsey, Steve Sachs, and a hitter for pitcher Tim Belcher. The Dodger bullpen is busy. The spotlight is on the mound, where Tom Browning enters the 9th, having retired 24 batters in a row. Dempsey has grounded to Sabo. He has flied to Daniels. He is waiting on Browning, and Tom lets it fly, and the pitch is fouled up and out of play. Strike 1. Browning has struck out 6. This is the 2nd time this season that he has flirted with a no-hitter. He lost one out at San Diego on a 9th inning single by Tony Gwynn. He is low with the next pitch to Dempsey, and it's a 1 ball, 1 strike count. And this crowd is going to boo every ball call, no matter if Browning throws one up into the radio booth. And here comes his 1-1 to Dempsey, and it's hit in the air to right field. O'Neill moving toward the line. He's under, and he makes the catch. 1 out. Dempsey is gone. The 25th Dodger out. And now it is second baseman Steve Sachs, who has flied to O'Neill twice tonight and may well be the toughest of the trio of batters that Tom Browning will face here in the 9th inning. Sachs, a contact hitter. He'll put the bat on the ball more often than not. And as determined and competitive a player as Browning, the pitch is swung on, ground ball up the middle. Larkin's got it. His throw to first. 2 out. And the Dodgers are down to 1. A night very reminiscent of the one that we had here back on May the 2nd, when Ron Robinson pitched 8 2/3 innings of perfect baseball. He lost the no-hitter, he lost the shutout, but he got the win. And now it will be Tracy Woodson to pinch hit for Tim Belcher, and Browning is 1 out away. In the history of this franchise, there have been 15 no-hitters pitched. 12 in 9 innings, 3 of 10 or more. There has never been a perfect game thrown by a Reds pitcher. And Woodson fouls it off, strike 1. It is 1-0 in the 9th inning. The Reds have the lead. Browning has retired 26 in a row. He is a strikeout in front of the right-handed batting Tracy Woodson. He looks to Jeff Reed. He winds and he throws, and it's inside, and it's a ball and a strike. It was 10 years and 3 months ago to the day that Tom Seaver last pitched the Reds' last no-hitter. Browning is outside, ball 2. That was on the 16th of June in 1978 when he no-hitted the Cardinals here 4-0. Browning's 2-1 offering to Woodson, and it's grounded foul to the Dodger dugout. And the count is even at 2 balls and 2 strikes. There is no one standing that we can see, or sitting rather, that we can see in this ballpark. They are all up and on their feet and rooting individually and collectively for Browning to get one final out. He is ready for the 2-2 to Woodson, and here it comes. And it is swung out and missed. And Tom Browning has pitched a perfect game. 27 outs in a row, and he is being mobbed by his teammates just to the third base side of the mound. A perfect game thrown by Tom Browning on this Friday night, September the 16th, 1988, as he no-hits the Los Angeles Dodgers 1-0 and throws the first perfect game in the long and legendary history of this great Cincinnati Reds baseball franchise. And now Browning being hoisted to the shoulders of his teammates. And boy, what a memorable scene on a wet, dreary evening here in Cincinnati. A night that the fans had to wait 2 hours and 27 minutes for. And brother, was the wait worthwhile. And this one belongs to the Reds. A perfect game for Tom Browning. And the Reds have defeated the Los Angeles Dodgers by a final score of 1-0.
So you emerge from the pileup. Your teammates hoist you on their shoulders. I'm not sure what's going through your mind at that point, but what was going through your mind in the 9th inning to get you there?
Well, again, like I said, I'm just going crazy inside and trying to stay as composed as I could on the outside. You know, trying to keep my wits about me, just trying to stay focused on, you know, one pitch at a time, because at that time I'm sure I was starting to lose the feeling in my legs and all the other probably parts of my body. But I was, you know, I was full aware of what was going on. The fact that what helped me more than anything else was the fact that I had a 1-0 lead, and I really didn't want to give them a chance to get back in the game. And you know, and Dempsey and could have very easily hit a home run off me, and then Saxey, I don't know if he could hit a home run off me, but I mean, he was a good enough player to hit a double or something. And then Tracy Woodson came up and was able to get a 2-2 fastball up and in on him where he couldn't catch up to it. And it was just like, it was almost like something lifted off my shoulders, but also just that jubilation, where you've really felt like you've accomplished something. Gosh, I'm a big leaguer now. I did something in the big leagues, that's pretty cool. I gave it to Saw, was excited, and Reedy came out and I went out to give him a high five, and I turned, and before I could really turn towards the players coming in from the field, Ronnie Osher kind of clipped me with his fist, to hug me, but he hit me in the mouth and busted my mouth open. And then I remember being at the bottom of the pile, and Ronnie Osher's right next to me, and our faces are real close, and he says, "You know what you just did, blah, blah, blah." And I was having a hard time breathing because the pile was on me. But then when they lifted me up, it was my one out-of-body experience that I can honestly say I had. And I felt like I was above the whole scene, looking down at the whole thing, just one moment of pure joy, feeling like, I did something. I did something kind of cool. So, and it certainly got me on the map.
Well, needless to say, Tom, the post-game media swarm must have been a little larger than normal after a perfect game, including the Joe Nuxhall Star of the Game show. Yeah, well, I mean, obviously one of my favorite things to do is be on Joe Nuxhall Star of the Game, because one, we probably won, two, I probably pitched good, or I got a couple hits. And you got a gift certificate.
And I got a gift certificate. I got a honey-baked ham or something. But, it, being with Joe, and Joe was such a dear friend of mine, and thought the world of him. We were, good partners on road trips and stuff like that. But, I was getting ready to go inside underneath the behind home plate to go into the clubhouse, and he was walking out as I was starting to walk in, and he saw me, and he just broke out into a ear-to-ear grin and went to shake my hand. And if you recall, when you go underneath behind home plate, there that concrete barrier that you had to duck underneath. Well, Joe forgot to duck, and he hit that thing full force, smack on the forehead. It knocked him back on his can. And he was laughing all the way down and all the way back up, and he shook my hand and gave me a hug, and, we walked out to the dugout, and I think somebody might even brought me a beer out there and had a beer with Joe Nuxhall. But him reaching out there, and right before he just got to my hand, that concrete wall stepped up and just smacked him, and he went back, but he, in Joe Nuxhall fashion, just laughed it off. And funny, you know. I mean, I think he was as happy for me as I was, you know, because he saw me the year before struggle, and he saw what I had to go through to get back, and finally got back to where I wanted to be, and I think he was as tickled as I was.
Tom Browning, our star of the game, and as we said, the first in the history of this great franchise in Cincinnati, the oldest in baseball. And when you think of a perfect game, you would say, well, somewhere in the history, someone would have done it. And it's not happened until tonight. And Tom Browning has done it. And Brownie, I don't know any other words but congratulations, a whale of a job. Let's call it a hell of a job. And this Bud's for you, by the way.
Thank you, Joe. It's just, you know, I don't even know if it's really sunk in. It didn't even sink in after I struck the last guy out. You know, I was glad we won the ball game, but then after having all those guys pile on me and all that and getting pretty heavy, I knew what had happened. And, you know, I got a little teary-eyed, but I was just, you know, like I said, I was just struck. I don't know why I didn't know what to do, but, you know, it was a great feeling, and it's a great feeling now. And, you know, I just wish my wife would have been able to come to the game, but the kids, you know, sick, and the rain, I don't know, but, you know, it's great. I don't even know what to say. It's just, it hasn't really even sunk in yet.
Tom, it looked like after the last pitch that you were kind of, as you say, struck, and then I don't know if it was Jeff or Sabo jumped your back, and then things really sank in.
Yeah, I was laying at the bottom of the pile, and I looked right to my right, and Ronnie Olsen's sitting right there screaming at me, and, you know, I think he's the one that tackled me, but I'll tell you, it was just it's a great feeling, and, you know, I'm glad that they played some good ball behind me tonight, and, you know, we scrapped for one run, but we were able to get by with it, and, you know, I think that probably helped more than anything was being able to go out there with only a one-run lead and keep my concentration as high as I did, and I went out there just trying to get a one-hitter at a time and then try to move the ball in and out, and, you know, I just happened to make some pretty good pitches in some situations, and, you know, they made a couple good plays for me, and, of course, Lark went up the middle in that last inning, get that ball with Sachs hit, and, you know, it just seemed like everybody was into it tonight. Even though we got one run, I think everybody was into it. And I'm just glad I was able to, you know, at least beat the Dodgers anyway. And maybe, you know, like I said, we got a long road to, you know, it's a big, tall hill to climb, but you never know. We just got to keep going at them and go one game at a time.
Tom, going into the last inning, and I'm sure you were quite aware of what the circumstances were. Did your mood change at all or not?
Oh, I did. I was getting a little bit excited. I was getting a little antsy, but, you know, I was able to at least keep my composure out there and then, you know, stay within myself, and I kept talking to myself a little bit that last inning, just saying, just try to throw strikes and move the ball in and out. Don't give them a good pitch to hit, a ball they can drive to tie this game up. So, you know, I just tried to stay away most of the time, and, you know, that ball that I struck the guy out that last pitch, you know, was up above his head, but you know, I was feeding him away and away and away, and I finally, you know, Jeff called for a fastball in. I just got it up, but he swung at it, missed, and that was great. I don't know what to say.
Tom, when you think about it, as we mentioned, there's been, I don't know, 15, 16, 17 no-hitters pitched in the history of this ball club, maybe more than that. But that being the first perfect game, maybe it'll be tomorrow before you really realize the magnitude of this thing.
Yeah, I was just glad I was able to go 9. You know, I've only got 3 complete games on here, and, you know, I just wanted to go out there and go 9 for them and give them a good, strong game. And, you know, we had a 2-hour wait. I was getting a little antsy in the clubhouse, but when I heard they were pulling the tarp off, I was getting a little bit excited. But, you know, when you got a 1-0 lead, you want to go out there and do the best you can and keep them from, you know, getting any opportunities to score. And I just was able to do that. From, you know, I was able to get the first hitter. Well, I got every hitter out, but I mean, you know, for me to get the first hitter out inning is a big key for me, and I was able to do that tonight.
Tom, I really, as far as I know, I don't think you had I went to 3 balls on any hitter.
No, I don't think I came close. I think 2. I got behind Rick Dentz a couple times, 2-1, and I was able to throw a screwball that you know, he popped up one time and hit the ball down the line. And Sabo made a good play on him, threw him out. And I think that was about the only time I had trouble. Mike Marshall, the last time up, you know, gave me a little scare, but you know, I said, what the heck, if you're going to hit me, if you're going to beat me the other way. So I threw the ball the other way, and he popped up, and Paul ran it down. So just one of the nights where they hit the ball right at people when I needed to, and you know, we scrapped for that 1 run and we win the ball game.
Tom Browning, our star of the game, and of course, Jeff Reed gave Tom a little signal starting off the ball game. Might have been the first inning, and we'll talk to Tom about that. Tom, as we mentioned, it might have been the second hitter, and you were ahead 0-2, and Jeff kind of stood up in front of the plate and kind of pointed to his head looking at you.
Well, he came up to me before the game and said, listen, Pete wants me to stand in front of the plate when you get somebody 0-2, and just to remind you to think about the pitch, make sure you don't give them too good a pitch to hit. And he did that quite a few times tonight, but I knew what he was doing, and I knew the reason. He said, "Don't get mad at me if I do it." I said, "I understand, because I give up the 0-2 home run to Belcher, and he just was out to remind me not to, to make any stupid pitches in those situations, and I was able to do that tonight. Just stay away from those 0-2 hits."
Tom, I know many times, I say many times, you said that I lost my concentration here and there.
Yeah, tonight I was zeroed in the whole time. I had good command of the strike zone. I was able to move the ball in and out and around the plate and get him, looking for a fastball and throwing a screwball in situations and vice versa. I was able to get the ball in on some hitters when I needed to, and I just had good command. And whenever I think you have good command of the strike zone, you're going to be a pretty good chance you're going to win. And that's what happened for me tonight. I just moved the ball in and out, and got a few jam shots. And in fact, I threw a slider to Mickey Hatcher on the 7th or 8th inning, and he had a little jam shot to Ronnie Oster, and I got the ball back and had SLU from Louisville Slugger on the trademark on it in silver. So I threw it into the dugout so Pete could look at it because I wanted to show him I could jam somebody, and but he didn't ever get a chance to look at it. The ball boy picked it up, but it's just a great day, and I haven't really had anything sunk in yet.
Tom, of course, the last guy to pitch a no-hitter for the Reds, his first name was Tom too, and pretty good pitcher, Tom Seaver. That happened, 10 years ago, I think, against the Cardinals.
Yeah, I saw clips of that game, and I was a senior in high school. Well, I guess I was the summer after I graduated, but he's a great pitcher. I mean, it's surprising he only threw one no-hitter in his career, but I'm sure he had a boatload of 1 and 2 hitters, but you never expect to throw a no-hitter. I never expect to do because I'm not, I don't have the overpowering fastball, but, I went right at him tonight, and things just fell my way. Just some of those nights, things go your way, and tonight was one of them nights.
Really, I guess the play of the game was early in the game. I think Marshall might have hit it. I'm not sure, or Hatcher, that Sabes went behind the bag to feel the ball and throw him out, and or Dempsey, right? Yeah,
it was a 2-1 screwball to Dempsey, and he got out in front a little bit, but he hit it right. He just fair, and Sabes playing back far enough, and he wasn't hit as hard as I anticipated, but Saves made a good play, got to it, and he also made a good play on Marshall's. He hit the ball in the hole, Saves got it, and Nick stayed on the bag, and I wanted the ball a little bit high, but Nick was able to stay on the bag and help. So everybody contributed in one way or another tonight. I'm just I'm glad we won the ball game. That's the big key. I'm happy.
I guess that was your third time going into the last inning, Tom, with a no-hitter, and of course, a pretty good hitter got you out in San Diego earlier in the year, and then the other one happened here against the Cubs.
Yeah, this was by far my best game because in San Diego I had walked 3 guys, and I walked Tony Gwynn twice, and I didn't feel like I deserved a no-hitter if you're going to walk their best hitter twice. And the last inning he fought off some pitches where I could have walked him again, but he kept battling, and finally I gave him a pitch a way that he slapped in for a single. But tonight there's no comparison to tonight. Tonight was my best, I think, overall.
Well, it was outstanding, Tom, and 5 more one-time partner, and guys, I've watched a whole lot of them here and for the Reds and against the Reds, and this, of course, is by far the best, a perfect game. Congratulations one more time.
Thank you, Joe.
Tom Browning, our star of the game, and Tom, a perfect game, 1-0. The Reds beat the Dodgers. And, what can you say? That's it from here in the dugout. This is the old left-hander rounding third and heading for home. Good night, everyone.
Well, the media attention didn't stop at the Joe Nuxhall show. You continued on Good Morning America the following morning. You were up bright and early.
Yeah, well, actually, it was Monday morning. They called and said they'd like me to be on their show first thing Monday morning, and I got there at 5:30. And I dressed in whatever I could consider dress clothes for me. And they put some makeup on me, and they were sitting there prepping me. And then I think at 6:02 or 6:05, I got on there and he interviewed me. And at 6:07, I was done. I mean, I had 2 minutes, and they said, "Thank you for coming on." And I was, I was a little disappointed because I had to spend all that time getting there and spend all that time prepping to be on the show. And I was on for barely 2 minutes. But like I said, it was okay. I got some notoriety, but because it was that late in the year, I suppose, and we weren't going to go to the playoffs and stuff, it was just kind of oh, by the way. But I certainly don't really need the accolades because I know what I did, I know what I felt like, and I know what a special accomplishment it was. Had no idea it was the first in Reds history, and certainly they have treated me like a special person in Cincinnati ever since.
Tom, every pitcher that's ever towed the rubber has wanted to do exactly what you did on that September 16th night. Throw a perfect game. And boy, has it changed your life. From autograph shows to notoriety to nicknames like Mr. Perfect. I'm not sure how much better it could get.
Well, that's a hard moniker to accept, you know, because you never really want to talk to yourself in that kind of form. But yeah, I've learned to accept it. It certainly given me a lot of notoriety here, and I'm very appreciative of that. But you know, I think more than that, I think people understood the kind of person I was, or kind of player I was, or pitcher I was when I was out there. I mean, I take great pride in the fact that, yeah, we used to love to go watch you pitch because you went out there and played hard, or, you know, you gave it your all, or whatever else. And, you know, I'm probably more proud of that. But because of that special accomplishment, I obviously got a key to the city from Charlie Lucan. I've had many, many doors opened up, you know, not necessarily for free stuff or like that, but people recognize me for what I did. And, hey, that's Mr. Perfect. And, you know, a lot of the parents now and even grandparents now are introducing me. Well, this guy, you know, telling their grandkids or younger children, you know, this guy threw a perfect game for the Reds, and long before them kids were born. But, you know, it's been a pretty neat place, and that's why I enjoy, you know, when I moved here to play here, I plan on staying here the rest of my life, and I still do that point. I consider Cincinnati home. But like you said and I said, it's been pretty special here. People have given me the benefit of the doubt of being you know, because of what I did out there. But you know, and it's all pretty genuine. And you know, on my Hall of Fame plaque up here in the Hall of Fame, it does say Mr. Perfect on it. So and you know, when people ask me to sign it on a ball, it's, you know, I say okay. But it's, you know, not something I relish. I mean, my wife tells me I was perfect for an hour and 52 minutes of my life. So, but she did get a fur coat out of the deal. So, yeah.
Tell us that story about the fur coat.
Yeah, that was kind of really unexpected. The next day, we go to the ballpark, and Marge called my wife and asked her to be at the ballpark before the game. You know, so I knew there was going to be like a little presentation or something, and I had Tiffany and Tanner were there. I think Tiff was about 3 or 4. Well, I'll tell you how old she was. She was 3, and Tanner was just newborn. He was about a year old at the time, a little over a year. So she had us come out to the home plate and before the game, and I get out there and I see this box there, you know, and I think, well, that's kind of cool. And she says, Tom, this is for you, and she handed me a stemmed rose. And I took the rose, and then she says, Debbie, this is for you. And she took the box and gave it to Deb. And Deb opens it up, and it's a full-length mink coat, you know. And I went, wow. I thought that was so cool. And she looked at me and she says, are you okay with that, sweetie? And I said, oh, yeah, that's great. I said, no, I don't have to buy her one. But she actually wanted to put a clause in my contract that following year that if I threw another perfect game, that my wife would get a $300,000 bonus. And Major League Baseball wouldn't let her put it in the contract. But gosh, I almost did it again, but I know she wouldn't have held up that. I would like to have seen it happen, but it didn't happen. But Marge, you know, she was so instrumental in getting the wives involved and getting the girlfriends and the wives involved in the community and doing some fashion shows and stuff like that. So it was kind of cool, and I was very happy to accept for my wife to get that fur coat. Didn't look good on me anyway, so.
Brownie, you told us about the number of baseballs that you got from that ball game. Say 6 or 7 baseballs from during the middle of the game. The one that you jammed Mickey Hatcher on that you had. But what about the one that ended the ball game? The one that ended in your glove when you were at the bottom of the pile. Whatever happened to that ball?
I got it to the clubhouse, and it was still in my glove. And I left the ballpark, I think, about 2:30 in the morning. I brought it home. I put it on my mantle above the fireplace, and it had no writing on it or anything. It was just that one ball there from the last out of my perfect game. And one day, Tanner and Tucker, and Tucker was probably 2 at the time. It sat there for a couple of years, but one day they decided they wanted to go play baseball out back. Tanner couldn't find a ball, and he saw that ball up there. He looked at it and had no writing on it. Said, well, this is nothing really. We can play with this one. And they went out back and played with it. And I came home, and a couple of days later, I said, Tanner, do you have to remember what happened to that ball that was up on the man? He said, oh, yeah, me and Tucker took it outside to play with it. I said, well, where is it? He said, well, Tucker hit it in the woods. I said, well, did you go and get it? He said, no, we couldn't find it. Why? I said, well, it was just the last out of my perfect game, not a big deal, you know. He said, well, I'm sorry. I said, I know where it went, but we couldn't find it. And I said, that's okay. I mean, it's chipmunk nesting now, whatever, but I still have one more that I kept, and obviously the one from Mickey Hatcher my dad has. So I have those, and I have the glove. And actually, the glove is in the Hall of Fame. It's on the display there, along with my World Series trophy. So I kept some things, just that ball just wasn't able to stand around very long. So it got used for what it was supposed to be used for. Someone played with it.
Well, we've had a great time here at the Reds Hall of Fame talking to Tom Browning about that special night back September the 16th, 1988. And Tom, we thank you for joining us. And if you'd like to have a little bit more information about Tom Browning's career and a lot of the stories surrounding that special night on September the 16th, the night of the perfect game, they're contained right here. In Tales from the Dugout, Tom Browning, along with Dan Stupp, back in 2006, collaborated on a book. And some of the proceeds from all the sales of this book at the Reds Hall of Fame will go to support the Reds Hall of Fame, and we invite you down to get your copy anytime. Tom Browning, we thank you very much. Congratulations, big guy.
Thank you.
Mr. Perfect right here on FSN Reds Classic Rewind.
Next week on Reds Classic Rewind, you talk about your fall classics. The 1975 World Series between the Reds and the Boston Red Sox ranks at or near the top of most baseball fans' lists. These two great lineups matched up extremely well, as evidenced by 5 one-run games, 5 come-from-behind victories, and 2 extra-inning contests. One game which fit all those categories was Game 3. Watch it from the pregame introductions to the final run crossing the plate, along with recollections from some of the participants. Next Monday at 8 p.m., only on FSN Ohio.